Hello everybody, it's Chibi, and today I'm here to bring you an anime review on Akatsuki no Yona. Now this episode, we get some insight to more of Kija's character, and he actually starts to intermingle with his fellow companions. Pretty much this episode is him fitting in with everybody else. That's really what this episode does, and I feel like this episode does a damn good job of developing his character and getting the point across of how his actual personality is. And at the end of this episode, pretty much, you have it to where Kija realizes what he needs to be. Like, for instance, how important he is to the group, how he is helping out Yona, and technically how similar he is to Yona. So let's dive in deep and talk about these details. So, for the most part, the episode, it has some really good animation. I feel like the execution of the pacing was done properly, especially with the fighting. And the fighting took me by surprise with this episode because Akatsuki no Yona does have fights. It does have fights every so often, but they're not often. You know what I'm talking about? Like, they're not every single episode. And the animation in that fight with some fight scenes, it looked pretty damn good. I mean, it wasn't the best, but I mean, the animation in some of those fights looked pretty fucking ridiculous, and I liked it a lot. And so, I just wanted to comment on that. Like, the animation of the fights looked really well done. And I felt like getting to find out more about the bloodthirsty personality of Kija was something very interesting, and it put a shocking twist on this episode. For instance, Kija seems like when he uses his white dragon's claw, it seems like he gets weakened. I noticed that. I keyed in on that with this episode. For instance, as soon as he was done being bloodthirsty and, you know, beating the shit out of all these bandits, pretty much killing them, I'm guessing they were getting killed, his arm started having this aura come out of it, and, like, he instantly went to the ground like he was weakened or something. But it didn't really get covered. It didn't get talked about much. But I'm going to take a quick guess and say that maybe if he uses his hand too much or his power too much, it either weakens him or maybe his entire body might turn into a dragon. I mean, I've seen these characteristics before in anime to where, like, if you use a certain power, the power will overtake your body, especially with how his human hand is pretty much a dragon's hand. So, it might be possible, I'm just theory crafting, that maybe his entire body will slowly turn into a dragon if he continues to use that power. And I bet all the other dragons are like that too, but we'll have to see. Now, besides that, you know, getting to see the demonstration of his kind of bloodthirsty personality, you see where Kija actually is starting to fit in with Hawk and actually learn his personality and see that they both need to work together and set aside their differences. Even though at the end of the day with this episode, they still bicker at each other and they have this, you know, banter between each other, it's still very enjoyable. It doesn't get old. At the moment, it's not old, and I loved it. I was laughing my ass off when I saw them, you know, making fun of each other, especially, you know, White Snake. Oh my god, that's just fucking, that's fucking funny. That was just straight up funny. It's not just that. What makes it so good, though, this episode so good, is I feel like, once again, the pacing really complements this series. If it wasn't for the pacing really taking the time to develop these characters and make us understand these characters' personalities and all that, I don't think this series would be as good as it is. I want to be honest. It would not be as good as it is right now if they decided to rush over these events. It would. The pacing is really helping this series out, and it's making my enjoyment of the series get even better, because the build-up, even though it's slow, and it's gradually building up, we're getting up to some really good things. I could feel the greatness building in this series, and it's definitely going to turn into something very good. I'm interested to see, actually, what the blue dragon is like. I mean, I know we saw all the dragons in the first two episodes, like, we got to see, you know, the flash forward and all that, but I honestly forgot about what they really look like, or their different abilities. The only one I really remember was the Claw, the white dragon dude. So, that's the only dragon I really remember. The others, I can't really remember. I remember there was one that stayed back with Yona, but yeah, anyways. Overall, really interested to see exactly how the blue dragon is. I really am. Next week seems like we're probably going to go into finding out who he is. Probably get his introduction next week, which I'm looking forward to. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I mean, did you enjoy this week's episode of Akatsuki no Yona? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.